What's up, Giga Gamers? Welcome to the Strat Chat. We're going to be breaking down Worlds 2023. It's here. We'll always be a day behind because of broadcasting rights, but we're going to take the games after they've been played, break down what's going on, what pro teams are thinking, what they are trying to accomplish with different team comps, positions, wards, whatever it is, so you guys can get a better understanding of what's going on in the game. So without further ado, we're going to start off with BDS versus Golden Guardians, the play-in qualifier. These are the fourth seeds from both regions. I think BDS is heavy favorites in this game. There is just a talent gap going here. Golden Guardians, I will say, is the closest North America has ever come to playing peak League of Legends, and it happened this spring. High tempo. That's the name of the game. That's what we believe in. Tempo is the way that they can do it, and we saw what happened in spring where they were a middle of the pack team, and yet they made it to MSI. So we'll see if it's kind of like the EG treatment. Did they get there too soon? Was the team not ready? I don't think so, because they've got plenty of veteran presence on this team. Lots of guys who have been around the block. People who have even been to Worlds before. So there is some reason to hope for this team. That said, BDS is pretty stacked, and BDS really should have been at MSI based on their spring performance. This is a young team. They've had another 4 months to mature, and I really think that this team is quite strong. And I think Adam is one of the best top laners in the world, even getting respect from the Koreans. There are memes, active memes, which is something that they don't really do that often. They only do it for the cream of the crop. They do it for Hillsong. Hillsong, they call him the Mad Genius, and they have memes all over Korea for him, and they've got more for Adam. And on top of that, you know, the world's theme is gods, and his champion pool is Garen, Olaf, Darius, and Set. So, just saying, last time that the world song was Phoenix, FPF Phoenix won. So, you know, there's a chance. Let's check it out. Oh, Cassante bowing to the world's banner. That's about right. Seems about right. Cassante is a champion that I think... All right, so as of today, underwent massive changes. Trying to make him more playable for the masses. He's the biggest skill discrepancy champion in the game. Basically, his win rate goes up about 2% per rank that you're in. It's actually kind of crazy. He's like 56% in Challenger, 54% in Grandmaster, 50. Like, it literally just goes down as you go down. And a lot of it has to do with practice. A lot of it has to do with decision making. It's a lot about when to cast that R. Is the big thing, right? It can be an int, right? You can literally just throw yourself to the wolves and die if you cast it at the wrong time. Not only that, but there's a lot of manufactured combos. But in this game, we're going to have Adam on Renekton, which is a known counter pick to Cassante. Now, one thing about Cassante, he is weaker, okay? You cannot argue that he is substantially weaker than he was, not just on release, but he's had 6 patches. 6! Count them, all right? That all had nerfs. Some bug fixes, some quality of life increases, none that were technically a quote-unquote buff, but they did make his life a little bit better, so we're going to see exactly where he lands. We put him down in D tier for this tournament because I think that how do I want to put it? People are going to play him because they've been playing him for the last 12 months, and based on just how comfortable they are, they will be able to play him pretty well. But that said, stat check wise, he may not be all the way there. That said, he was exceptionally strong on release. We're happy to be proven wrong on that one, but we're going to put it out there. Renekton, of course, is going to get the push at early levels. Cassante normally can take these games and choose to go for prio, spamming his Q, getting auto attacks, getting the grasp of the Undying over and over for all of these instances. But he's not going to do that right now because he has a read on the Maokai start top. You also know that Talia is pathing towards top. So he'd like to try to get this wave frozen on the top side. So look at how they're synergizing. Maokai's already looking to put pressure into this Western quadrant. And he's also going to put this ward down to protect Renekton. This allows Renekton to flex his lead, all right? This is very important to think about. When Renekton has such a strong laning matchup, what are you going to be able to do with it? Getting that ward down, pathing from top to bot, but making a path not only to get to mid lane, but also to get that ward down is huge. Now, Renekton is actually laying down another ward for himself. So that might be a little bit of miscommunication. The only way for Talia to get there past the ward that Maokai dropped would be to flash that wall. Now, that is something that pro teams are capable of doing, especially if you have a read on enemy teams, what their warding pattern is. But here we see the actual, the biggest benefit of it, pathing through mid. Now this has two effects, all right? And this is why you should be doing it in your games. Pathing through mid is the most important lane because from mid you can control all of the other lanes. All right, so by pathing through mid, you accomplish a couple of things. One, you guarantee the push, which means that your laner will be able to get back before the enemy laner. Having first recall is proven to be a fantastic indicator of who's going to win their lane. Second, Maokai is going to be able to leech a little bit of experience, and that little bit of experience means that when you do 2 full rotations, you'll actually hit 6. So you might see a pre-7-minute level 6 from this Maokai now based on this position, all right? And third, you actually get the kill, right? So that's the one that you can't really always control. Depending on how the enemy team plays it, you might not get the kill, but that's okay. The other ones are always going to be guaranteed. You will guarantee the push for yourself. You will guarantee the first back. You will also guarantee that extra experience for yourself by going through mid. So Nuke is going to be very happy in this mid lane. Now we're going to have a tough spot for the Yone where he's going to have to decide whether or not to hard shove, crash this wave all the way in, and if he's going to stay there at 50% health. Now, one thing that they are going to be looking at, these laners, starting at 6 minutes, you're going to see them look for the fruits, all right? They might try to go push, sacrifice some of their resources to go get the honey fruit and go reap the rewards from that. You see Maokai now pathing back into the northern quadrant, coming back over, and every time that he's up there, it's going to allow Renekton to be that much stronger. Powered W. All Renekton mains know that the empowered W is the biggest source of damage. It is not the empowered Q. Empowered Q is something that you use for the extra healing, but we'll see whether or not he goes into 3 points in Q or whether or not he goes more. Something that has recently evolved, more recently evolved. It's always been around, but ever since patches where more points went into the W, more power went into the W, you've seen a lot of Renektons going 3 or as few as 2 points into Q, because you just don't need that much of the sustain. Your power goes up so much stronger when you get points into the W. Now, I didn't get a chance to mention, but Talia did go for a sort of extravagant path trying to get into the northern quadrant after the clear in the western quadrant. She actually went and skirted mid lane to get through behind the pit to try to sneak in a gank, but nothing arose from that. We'll see if that's a pattern that comes back up, whether or not teams are going to adjust. Now we can take a moment and talk about our favorite support for this tournament, Rakan. Paired with Sivir. Sivir's can have a really easy laning phase most of the time. She's just a very simple champion to play, and for that reason, I think she's one of the best champions for the entire tournament. It's so easy to play the champion and to give your team the entire benefit of everything it can offer. So I think Sivir is going to have some amount of priority. It also gives extra synergy for Maokai, Renekton, and Rakan, who are all trying to dive. So I absolutely love this team composition from BDS. One thing I will give a nod to, although it's a year late, Kai'Sa Amumu. We watched in person all the games in New York last year at Worlds. And Amumu kept on getting paired with Misfortune, and it made no sense. Kai'Sa was very strong. And Amumu Kai'Sa, they're actually best friends, like the bestest of friends, even more than Nautilus, even more than Rakan, all right? All of the traditional pairings for Kai'Sa, when you compare what Amumu can do, the fact that it magic shreds and the fact that Kai'Sa had so much of its damage loaded into its magic means that Amumu is just giving you an extra 10% damage on all of those. So it should have been played all of last year. It got played exactly 0 times in last year's Worlds, which was a huge mistake. This year, it's a little bit different because Static Shiv has now been nerfed. The AP version of Kai'Sa, I don't think is going to be as prevalent. You're going to see way more lethality rushes because getting the early Umbral Glaive into another Serrated Dirk is just a super inexpensive version of getting to 100 AD. You're going to get that evolved Q, not only evolved Q, but you're going to do it with 2 sources of lethality, which means that you're absolutely going to be popping in those fights when you get this. So going to be looking for a lot of Kai'Sas to be doing that in this tournament. I do not think they should be playing the Static Shiv build. Static Shiv is a dead item on this patch. There are very, very few reasons to take it. I think Akali might be one of the very few that I still think it's going to be okay on. It's just not that good. Maybe Corki, but I don't think Corki's going to see much play. it's, you need to want every single bit of what that item offers, and I think only Akali actually wants it. It's good for the laning phase. It helps her clear minions. It's fine. And that being said, is it worth slowing down all of your other items and synergies, right? Because you're building AD, now you got fewer interactions for your AP scaling and everything. You do have AD scaling, but again, it's just the item is a shell of what it was. It's important that that's the case because it was way too strong. But I do not expect to see many Static Shiv builds. If they do come out, which it looks like we're going to get one this game, I think it is severely underpowered. Now, another thing that I see a lot in solo queue is Sivir, Tristana types building Static Shiv. Absolutely a mistake. Absolutely a mistake. These champions that already have wave clear don't need the extra wave clear from Static Shiv, and saying like, oh, it's that much better. No, like what do you actually need it for? You completely clear the wave with just a serrated Dirk into any item, Kraken Slayer, boom, entire wave's gone. You can go Essence Reaver, you can go Navori Quickblade, so you have permanent uptime. That's enough to clear the waves always. You just don't need Static Shiv. It is too big of a loss. I expect any team that builds Static Shiv to lose games. Now, enough of a rant on that singular item. BDS is absolutely crushing over here. They're winning everywhere. We've got a pretty massive team gap going on. Now, Rakan, we talked about as our favorite support in the meta. Congratulations, they got 1 kill for themselves, but they expended 3 players going to bot lane. Flash, ult from Talia as well. Significant losses were made elsewhere. We've already got over a 3k deficit here, and Renekton is going to move up with impunity. He's basically going to go and try to stack off this demolish every chance that he can, but he has to do with a little bit of respect. And you notice how he steps back here, even though he has the advantage in the lane. He knows that Maokai's bottom. He does not know where Talia is. Now, he may have actually seen her on that control ward that they have, but even just on the baseline of, hey, I know exactly where Maokai is and I don't know where Talia is, that would be enough to not make any more pressure go up. And you see Adam just pushing this to the limit. That's one of the things that these pro teams will do, is take every advantage that they have and push it to the maximum. Rakan has been living in the river with Maokai. I absolutely love the shell of wards that they have. You see this semicircle that they have planted for themselves, actually almost a complete circle. Normally you only need a triangle, but if you can put 2 triangles together, it sort of forms that circle. That circle is impregnable. All right, you need to have the longest range abilities, true globals, to be able to penalize that, and that just doesn't exist. Talia level 1 ultimate is only about the range of Nocturne Pantheon. It's just over a screen away that you can ultimate. So by having these wards down, they can actually leave Sivir alone for the most part and let her soak up, push, get as big as she can get. Rakan doesn't need to soak if he doesn't need to. So you see that there's actually a big discrepancy already, and Sivir's actually out-leveling the Maokai. Now, Rakan does want to get a piece of it. One of the things that we preach is that shared experience is good experience. You can generate 50% more experience out of a lane by getting all the ways. Let's check out this engage. We'll fight through minions. This is Renekton trying to teleport in. It's not even going to matter. Cassante bricks the stop, but that means Renekton's going to kill Cassante, and red team's going to win this anyway. So Licorice actually just, I don't want to say griefed. It's not griefing, but misevaluated the situation. Their team is down by so much that they were going to lose that 4v4 no matter what, even if it didn't involve a Renekton. So by poking the Gator, he actually loses his own life, loses top turret. They lose the fight anyways, and this game is truly in hand. We could truly, we could basically end the review right here because this game's done. But we will take a look at their ending protocol, how they go about all of their decision making for endgame macro. See the speed buff right there. You always walk through. When you're Ori, you can chase very effectively, because when you QW any target, it leaves behind a slow and speed up field. So it slows the enemy, and then as you walk through, not only will you pick up the ball, but you'll also get the speed buff that's left there. This is where you see Renekton punishing that. 6k gold lead. This is an absolute stomp. All right, so Now that it's a stomp, what's the order of priority, right? They're going to try to secure Baron. They don't even need to concern themselves with dragons. Frankly, this is going to be a 23-minute soul if they want it, but they're going to be able to get Baron before that. They can push, probably break an inhibitor by 21. I don't think they're going to need soul to win this game. This game should probably end at about 21 minutes. Basically, they should get Baron push, and if Golden Guardians decides to take the explosive route, which is normally the best one, it's just like make it about a high risk play. Don't let them bleed you out. If they're beating you by 7k and they take an inhibitor and then they just walk down and take another one, you're delaying the inevitable, unless there are very few situations where you can try to survive to spikes, try to get to level to 2-item spikes, then go for your big fight. But basically, that's what I think Golden Guardians is going to amount to this game. They're going to try to get to 2 items on their champions and then make one all-in fight. They're going to be down a full item in some cases, maybe even more than that. It should be like 1.5 items on this Renekton. He'll probably be at 3.5 items by 21 minutes. 21 minutes being that break point where a lot of champions come online with their second item. The cheaper builds, things that have, Abyssal Masks and Even Shrouds are going to come on a little bit sooner, but something like an Ezreal, fully stacked Man Immune, Triforce, that normally comes online at 21, 22 minutes. All right, Herald is going to be taken here. This is going to be perfectly timed. They're going to have Dragon number 3, and then they're going to be able to go get Baron. There's one thing I don't like about taking this Herald right now, and that's that they're not going to have it available for their own Baron push. That is one way that they could really secure a fast ending. You don't actually need to take this Herald. It's available. They're going to take it. They'd like to get this mid-tier 2 down, or even potentially just bring it down bottom and try to get the worst lane pushed as far as they can so that they can create some slow pushes there and go on. Slow push is still something that is not perfected at the pro game. There are some teams that do it well, some teams that do not. But they call it, fixing their wave states. Basically, what you're generating is a advantage in a lane that will come and meet you at the base while you're sieging, so that you never lose tempo while you're sieging, okay? Not only that, but you force the enemies into a tough position where they have to choose between stopping your push with your team or stopping the gigantic wave and collecting all the gold that's coming from it. Well, if they choose to go after the wave, then your team has some engage. In this case, it's Sivir, Maokai, and Rakan press their R button and go in. Renekton trying to flank, and you just punish the 4 people who end up staying. Very hard for someone to go pick up that wave. If you're Golden Guardians, you're probably sending Talia to do it. Magic damage users tend to be the best at wave clear, especially once you have supers. That will be negated by the Baron buff. They won't be doing anything to that. But Talia can get very quickly to the fight. Not only can she get to the fight quickly, but she can also potentially wall off some angle, separate the team maybe, and that's what they're going to look for. So here we go. Siege on this side. Renekton keeping up on the other side. Sivir getting as many resources as possible. She's going to shove mid and then collect a jungle camp. Rinse, repeat. Do it over and over and over. Maokai's probably never getting a second item this game. Just about to finish their companion. Look at all these vision, all the wards that they put in the southern quadrant. They're using this to prepare for the dragon to make sure that there's absolutely no contest. Golden Guardians can try, when enemy team goes to dragon, they can try to get prio in 2 other lanes. Push out, kind of resolve, fix lane states and kind of push them back, try to buy themselves some more time. Ideally, it's going to be in top lane and they can put some numbers there. BDS does not need to send everyone to dragon. They have such a big lead that they can take it with 3, with keeping their solo laners into the solo lanes. If they do that, Golden Guardians might try to get a 3v1 going. Make sure to get the numbers up. Make sure that it's far away from Rakan Sivir so that they can't collapse. See if they can't get 1 person dead off the board. If they can get 1 person dead while this dragon is spawned, then they might potentially be able to get some vision behind the backside of Baron, maybe set up some sort of comeback. But again, grasping at straws, this is what you're trying to do. Yeah, it looks like they're not actually sending anybody else. They're saying just Maokai. Maokai can put out the saplings. Slow and steady wins the race. You do not need to burst this dragon down. You've got full control of the lanes. Sivir's even got full control of the southern quadrant. And based on the pushes that they have, you see that Rakan's actually able to get deep wards in here. Not getting any... No, actually, there is one. All right, one tucked in behind mid lane. That is a fantastic ward. It sees anyone that uses the gates or anyone that paths from mid to bot going to walk past that ward. So they have full ownership of this jungle. This is really good endgame macro. They are squeezing Golden Guardians for everything. The only quadrant that GG can farm is their western quadrant. And they get it once every 2 minutes and 15 seconds. They get 5 camps every 5 minutes. That's what they're limited to. They don't even get access to all their waves. Now, something that Sivir is doing right here, you see that how she hard pushed? The hard push is viable. You can use a hard push to go reset, and she's using it to go get a completed item. It makes sense to get the most amount of time. What you should see after, especially once we get Baron in line, you don't actually need or want to hard push the lanes entirely, right? With this level lead, they're going to be pushing anyways, but you don't want to sacrifice your minion wave, because your minion wave is your ending tool. That is your tool for getting all the way into the base. All right, oh, looks like they're going to defend for the Herald. This is probably going to be GG right here then. They're making their stand, which I like. You know, don't wait for the Baron and just absolutely get crushed everywhere. You know, take it if you can. There's a chance that not everyone's here. Probably everyone is, but this is your best chance of fighting. So I absolutely love that Golden Guardians went for the fight here. Again, it's 1% chance of success, but I think that's better. Are we going to have a Dancing Herald? Someone go up. Tank, tank, tank. No, he flashed out of range. That means it's going to go and hit the Herald. We will not see a Dancing Herald this game, but we're going to have a post 20-minute victory. They didn't even need the Baron. Again, like I said, Golden Guardians made the choice to defend outside their base. It's the correct choice, right? Don't just get bled out. BDS was checking all the boxes. Fantastic macro. Well played.